Hello and welcome to a new episode of Accesa TechTalks. I'm your host, Radu Vingan, and as you might already know, this series aims to explore the technologies that shape tomorrow's businesses. Today we're talking about something that's very special in my opinion, and it's also tightly connected to our most recent episode. If you can't recall or if you haven't seen it, in our most recent episode, in the second episode of Accesa TechTalks, Maria Irimiaș, UiPath MVP, and our colleague as well, set the stage by defining hyperautomation in 2025 and by also introducing a new concept, which is called Agentic AI. She explained that Agentic AI goes a step further by offering systems the capability to act independently, to act goal-oriented, and to be, in a way, our virtual digital coworkers. If you haven't watched that episode yet, please go ahead and watch it right after this one ends. So, today we're going to talk more about Agentic AI and its real-life implementations. And this time we'll do it with an expert from UiPath. UiPath is the leading RPA company in the whole world, also called the Romanian unicorn, because it was the first tech company in Romania to reach the $1 billion valuation. As I said, today is an exciting episode. Why talk on this particular subject with UiPath? Because they recently introduced the Agentic AI capability into their platform. So after this long introduction, I think it's just about time to introduce our guest today, Robert Thullner, UiPath Senior Sales Engineer. Robert, welcome to our show.
Thanks a lot, Radu, for having me here today.
It's a pleasure. Robert, let's start with a quick introduction. Can you tell us about yourself and the company you represent?
Sure. Yes, my name is Robert. I work for UiPath's for the last 6 years in the sales engineering team. Our job is to help customers through the automation journey, either with traditional automation or also nowadays with more agentic automation. As you said, UiPath is the leading vendor when it comes to automation platforms worldwide, and we are a 7-time leader recognized by Gartner in their yearly reports to lead the category in that area.
And I think that makes you also the right partner for today's topic. Robert, let's start with the first question. In your own words, what is Agentic AI? And more interestingly, how will it change the traditional RPA that we're used to?
That is a good question, Radu. I think, generally speaking, agentic AI refers to AI systems that can act autonomously to achieve specific goals, as you said in your introduction as well. I think in the context of UiPath and automation, agentic AI is implemented through what we call agentic processes. These are business processes which are enhanced by one or multiple agents that can add cognitive decision-making capabilities to automation. So we combine traditional automation with AI agents to model, execute, and monitor business processes. The difference from traditional AI or RPA is that agentic automation can orchestrate long-running processes with complex decision flow logic. It integrates automated tasks, human tasks, AI agent tasks, and also decision-based tasks while leveraging our UI and API automation capabilities.
Robert, this sounds really interesting. The next question would be then, why should businesses care about agentic AI today, especially in the realm of hyperautomation? How does it impact their strategy? Maybe you can provide some real examples, real life examples where metrics like efficiency or costs have been considerably impacted.
Sure. Businesses should care about agentic AI because it offers a more comprehensive and a more flexible approach to automation. It allows to automate much more use cases that were either very hard or even impossible to automate before. And by automating more use cases, you of course have a higher ROI on your overall automation program. Agentic automation can be applied whenever it comes to semantic data operations, natural language processing, or reasoning use cases. For example, within an invoice process, agents can be used if there are some disputes in invoices to automatically check the root cause of the dispute and prepare a message to a vendor. A person can just do a final review and approve the message. So instead of a person doing a lengthy manual investigation, they just have to approve the final output of the agent. Another sample that we recently worked on is about ESG reported. And any larger enterprise in the European Union has to report its CO2 consumption in the yearly statement because of ESG guidelines. Calculating the CO2 consumption is a huge manual effort. With agentic automation, we are able to analyze all invoices of a company and check if they are relevant for ESG reporter. For example, if it's an invoice or gas or electricity consumption. And based on the source of energy, the agent can then extract all relevant data from the invoice and calculate the CO2 consumption. This would be a tedious task, which is highly manual if you do not apply any AI to it. And implementing this use case leads to a tremendous cost savings for enterprises.
I find these use cases pretty interesting and also impactful. And I know that you've worked with large enterprise customers, with many of them, and you're still working with them. Maybe you can share with us a recent and also very interesting use case where agentic AI stepped in. Um, I'm also curious how sectors like finance, retail, or even manufacturing putting these AI agents to use.
Yeah, I already spoke about 2 use cases before. We worked on another use case for a large manufacturer. Within their procurement team, they did not negotiate any contracts that were below a certain threshold amount because it would just be too expensive to have a person negotiate compared to the value of the contract. However, they created an agent that started a negotiation with the vendors and also did the negotiation. The agent could negotiate a few percentage of discount for a lot of contract, leading to a lower price for the customer. That means that they created net savings for the company, which they did not have before.
Wow. That I wouldn't expect, let's say. But interestingly enough, that's feasible right now as we speak.
Definitely is.
I find this use case fascinating, and I think there are many companies that could implement it. Let's say in different fields, of course. And as I talked before, and we touched upon it also in the intro, UiPath has recently launched this agentic AI functionality in the platform, which is a big augmentation, at least from my perspective. Could you share with us how you are implementing AI agents, how this really works, so we understand it better? And maybe you can also talk about how this is, let's say, interacting with the traditional RPA. What's the dynamic there?
UiPath's added 2 major components to enable agentic automation. The first thing we added is the agent builder. This is our no-code user interface for developing agent. In the agent builder, users can create instructions for the agent by just providing prompts. Users can also add tools so that the agent can look up data from backend systems or execute actions. Finally, they can also add escalations so that humans are involved whenever an agent cannot perform a task. We also added a lot of features to guide the development of agents. We integrated our autopilot so that users can get recommendations on how to structure the prompts. We introduced an agent score that gives users a feeling on how good their agent is, and important, how can they improve it. So we also added the possibility of what we call evaluation sets. This makes sure that agents are tested properly. And all these features make sure that agents behave as you designed them and as you want them to behave. This kind of acts like an insurance that the agents can be used in productive environments safely. To put the agents into production alongside with other automations, with human users or other tasks, we implemented a complete new agentic orchestration engine. We call this Maestro. In there, you can design business processes in BPMN notation. You can just drag and drop activities into a designer and then configure if a certain activity is either a regular RPA automation, an agent, or a user task. You can even configure external agents to be used within a process. So UiPath's acts as the vendor-agnostic execution layer that can integrate any kind of agents into end-to-end business processes.
The feature seems very robust, let's say, and also the fact that it's vendor agnostic, I find very practical. And the dynamic with the traditional, let's say, the traditional RPA methodology or flow seems to be very fluent. Now, many big companies, especially in the manufacturing area, but not only, have decades-old technologies and systems, right? And the question would be, how do they integrate agentic AI with their legacy IT infrastructure? How can they make this work?
Integrating agentic solutions with existing IT infrastructure and legacy systems is indeed a significant challenge for many enterprises. We address this by enhancing our agents with what we call tools. Tools can be any kind of automation that is either already existing within your UiPath environment or can be built with UiPath. So tools can also be any kind of pre-built UiPath activities or other agent or API workflows. So we build the tools to get data or write data to legacy systems and then give you the possibility to include all automations as tools for the agents. That approach grants agents access to data from any kind of system.
Right. So I think this answer gives positive news for a lot of companies, big ones that deal with such legacy systems, because UiPath offers solutions that are versatile and can be implemented or can be deployed right away before going through all the hustle when it comes to the modernization process, let's say. So yeah, I think that's a positive thing. Let's picture a certain use case. Let's say a company has successfully completed a proof of concept on a small scale project with RPA. How do they bring it to the next level? How do they scale this agentic AI across the organization?
Yeah, I think scaling is another challenge on its own. We see research from different analysts that show that many enterprises apply some kind of AI in certain use cases, but only a very small fraction is really ready for scaling it enterprise-wide. This is because many prototypes are focused more around personal productivity versus full-scale deployments. In UiPath, we mainly build agents that shall be used and executed within business processes. And by integrating into the business processes, we can make sure that it scales above personal productivity. We can always apply the think big but start small approach. So we start by implementing a smaller part of the business process, and afterwards add more steps to include further process steps from other departments. We design our process in a modular way so that it will always be possible to add steps to it later.
Mm-hmm.
What we see is that companies start building or have already a center of excellence on AI topic. They also help a lot with scaling. They work together with the existing automation COEs and build cross-functional teams where the AI prompting experts team up with process owners, automation developers, and SMEs to implement the first prototype processes.
Now let's look at it from a higher perspective. What are the biggest benefits that agentic AI brings to organizations? And on the flip side, what are the top challenges that it brings?
Yeah, I think that the biggest benefit is that with agentic automation, we can automate much more use cases that were not able to be automated before. Whenever we talk to automation teams within customers, they immediately have ideas on how they could enhance their existing automations to cover more steps of the overall business process, as I said before.
Mm-hmm.
I think generally speaking, some of benefits are obvious: enhanced automation of the complex tasks, with a better and improved decision-making capability, you increase your efficiency, and of course, enhanced customer experience, especially in customer-facing roles. Agentic automation can provide personalized, around-the-clock service for our customers, improving response time and, of course, customer satisfaction. When it comes to challenges, I think there's still a lot of challenges. Let me think of three or so. First of all, there's a huge competition amongst the LLM providers, and we see that not every LLM is a good choice for every use case. So you always have to assess on a use case by use case basis which model is the best for a certain problem. We try to address this by giving our customers the freedom to pick either one of the models that we provide or choose to integrate their own customized model.
Mm-hmm.
I think another challenge, especially in Europe, we still see a lot of challenges when it comes to data security. Of course, IT teams challenge the AI model usage and want to make sure that you comply with all data protection laws.
Yeah.
And we do this by what we call the AI trust layer to make sure that no data is sent to the LLM providers and all personal data is masked before sending it to a large language model. Finally, I think there's also a component of change management. Finally, I think there's also a component of change management to make sure that employees are comfortable with the new AI coworkers that help them to adapt to new ways of work, which can be a significant hurdle in the beginning.
It's good that you picked that last challenge to be said at the end, because it links to my next question. We know that agentic AI affects technology, that's for sure, but most importantly, it may affect even people, right? And this brings us to the even $1 trillion question. As AI agents continue to advance, how might they reshape the employees' roles, responsibility, and actual work? Are we looking at an augmentation of our work? Are we looking at smarter workflows? Or should some people also prepare for potential job displacement?
I think there was once a quote. I think it was the former CEO of IBM. He said that AI will not replace humans, but those who use AI will replace those who don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I think humans in general will work on higher level tasks and will be put more into a control center to check the outcome of agents. They will check if they approve or reject certain steps within a process. And they will see the tasks that are recommended by the agents to check if they make sense, if they are feasible. So we see people lead the process execution and be in control on what happened versus doing all the steps manually. I think when it comes to upskilling, everyone should get familiar with prompting. What are prompts? How can they be formulated that they will perform the task you want to do? I think that's not only something that is relevant in your business life, but also nowadays in your private life as well.
Indeed. Yeah. I think learning how to phrase prompts helps us also think clearer and also state our minds even better when it comes to communicating with other people, right?
Exactly. You have to be very clear, think what you tell the model to make it work for you.
Yeah. Which drives us to my next question. What should companies do to prepare their workforce for this shift? That's actually very important at the end.
Yeah, I believe companies should develop really comprehensive AI education programs and promote a culture of continuous learning to make sure employees understand the AI basics and stay up to date on the current developments in technology. Also within UiPath's, we are running a huge agentic program where we question all our business processes and see how we can agentify them to make them smarter and make them better. The last time I looked up our dashboard, we had already more than 100 ideas on possible agentic solutions we are working on. So this may lead to some redesigns of some job roles and workflows, which is crucial. But we also focus on how humans can work alongside with the AI to enhance the productivity and the creativity.
Yeah, so you innovate by deploying this technology, and the end result should be to help people interact with it even better, right? To augment their workforce, work life, let's say.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, a more interesting question, I'd say, can a digital-first company afford to ignore agentic AI right now? Because some people tend, or some companies tend to wait a bit for a specific technology to mature, right? But that may also lead to some losses on their side. I'm curious what you think about it.
I mean, in my opinion, the simple answer is no. I think no company can afford to ignore agentic AI, agentic automation. If you do, I guess you will be left behind very, very soon because all competitors are doing it. I think any company that ignores AI or agentic AI will not be able to scale. They will lose customers to competition and finally have a huge risk of getting left behind and eventually go out of business.
Right. So you're pretty firm in your opinion, which is good. And I think you also have a pretty clear picture of what will follow now with this technology, which is why I'm curious, how do you see AI agents evolve over the next 3 to 5 years? Let's say this is the long term, because nowadays, if you talk more about more than 5 years, I think you're rather a philosopher than than a business person. So, what do you think? What's the direction?
Yeah, also in the IT space, 5 years is a very long time frame to predict
Indeed.
something.
Yeah.
I mean, what we see is a huge battle going on between the tech giants like Microsoft, Meta, OpenAI, Google, and the likes. They battle for every employee they can get to improve their AI models. The models will become better and better over time and will allow us to analyze and automate even more processes.
Right.
I think two things we will end up is more enhanced natural language understanding and content generation, so leading to more natural and context-aware interactions. And we also see advancements in what we call multimodal capabilities. So models not only working with text, but with text, voice, images, videos, and so on, and combine all these in a single prompt for a single outcome. Recently, I also read about quantum computing. So this is now just my guess here. And quantum computing advances very, very fast. And I don't see a reason why there should not be something like a quantum AI, which could potentially offer unforeseen computational power for certain types of problems.
Yeah, that's fascinating, really fascinating. Um, Now, let's say I'm a company that's considering to introduce agentic AI. What kind of advice would you give me? What would be some tips and tricks from your side?
I think it is very important to start with a clear strategy. Before diving into AI or agentic AI, organizations should develop a clear strategy aligned with their business goals. This also involves identifying specific use cases where AI can add the most value, also setting realistic expectations and defining
Indeed.
success metrics.
I think your answer is very similar to Maria's answer
Yeah,
in our most recent episode, which
yeah,
makes it even more powerful.
yeah. Yeah, I think after that, once you have the strategy, start and begin with some pilot programs. Start with a small pilot project in a specific department or process. So this allows you to like test the waters, learn from experience, and demonstrate value before scaling up. I think it's important to choose projects that are important enough to matter, but contained enough that you are able to manage the risk associated with it.
Mhm.
I think once success is proven, scale gradually across the organization, across departments. Apply all your lessons learned from the early projects and ensure a smooth expansion. Finally, I think besides that, it is also important to upskill your workforce. As we said before, make sure that a governance framework is in place and
Mhm.
stay agile and adapt if necessary and pivot if it's needed to. So being successful in that area goes beyond just implementing the technology. It involves preparing your organization, your data, and your people for a new way of working. Remember, the goal is not to replace the humans with AI, but to create powerful human AI collaboration that drive the innovation and drive the business success.
I really liked how you framed your answer, Robert. I think it was both pragmatical and complete. So thank you for that. And this actually brings us to the end of today's episode, an episode focused on agentic AI, a topic that's both complex and exciting. A big thank you for Robert that he was here. A big thank you to the UiPath team for joining us today and for offering actually such a clear perspective on how AI agents are changing how organizations think about automation, people, and the future of work. If you haven't yet started exploring AI agents or this field of agentic AI, now we think is definitely the time. And we can definitely help you with it. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to Accesa TechTalks on BrightTalk and follow Accesa on YouTube and LinkedIn for more content and insights from industry experts. And of course, join us also next time when we will continue to explore the future of digital transformation with more real voices from the field. Stay tuned. See you soon. Bye.